just watch the crows fly. Oh, it comes to me at night. And oh, lately I've been feeling like I don't ever wanna wake again. I don't ever wanna see the light. Every now and then I find my just to see if it bleeds. Every now and again I feed the monster just to see what it eats. And I swear I feel my frozen heart start.
I like it, man. Yeah, I love it. Well, let's bring him in right now from the band All the Pretty Things. It is the lead vocalist himself, Mr. Logan Tabor. Logan, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you guys?
What's going on?
Good, man. Good to talk to you, man.
Every
you as well.
time,
Thanks for having
every
me.
time I think there's not good rock music, Chris surprises me with good rock music. So I'm happy to hear it, man.
Oh, did he do that just now? Is that what that was? Okay.
Well, Logan, I'll let you in on the secret of it. It's not much of a secret, but I have been trying for a year to convince Seth that there is tons of great rock music being made, but because there's no MTV and there's limited radio, nobody's hearing it. You have to go find it now instead of it finding you.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's kind of a shame. We used to have it really made, didn't we? Late 90s, early 2000s, man. Oh, we had it.
That's kind of what I always tell him is that, I was in rock radio in late 90s, early 2000s, back when that stuff was kind of hitting hard and it was easy to find on radio stations. It was easy to find CDs and everything else. Now, all of a sudden, I want to hear good rock music. I watch the Grammys and I hear bands that aren't really rock music like I know it. And I have to turn to Spotify and search for stuff. And it's tougher than it used to be. So that's all I'm trying to say. And I'm searching for those bands. Luckily, we got guys like you.
Well, I certainly appreciate you saying that. Hopefully, we've got 6 out right now. We got 4 more coming your way. So hopefully they'll all do something for you.
Right on, man. Well, dude, obviously a lot of people are probably discovering your band here just now because you're starting to make some noise and it's great that it's happening. But why don't we start there, man? And why don't you maybe give us a little history of the band and how you guys formed and, how you got started?
Yeah, so Tristan, who has done some touring with Chiodos and other bands of the like, and then Worth. These are both our guitarists. Worth, the other guitarist, toured with He Is Legend and a couple other bands, and he's a producer, so he's worked with all kinds of people. They, I believe, met helping another guy in North Carolina, another producer, like set up his studio. So they were both just kind of helping him carry in gear, plug in cables, all the logistical stuff that keeps me awake at night if I had to think about it. And they, I guess, hit it off and decided that, Tristan had some ideas that he wanted to bring to the studio. And, of course, Worth owns Red Room Recording Studios, which is in the house that I live in with Worth, and it's where we recorded our album. And so they started tracking stuff out, started as like 2 guitar demos and then kind of turned into 2 guitar, like, actual studio takes and then adding bass and drums. And we started to see that there was this thing taking shape that was more than I think we imagined it might have been in the first place. And it really resonated with all of us. And I started demoing out vocals, and we were like, "Oh God, boys, we got something here."
Right.
So we hit up Jeremy Bryan, who plays drums for Alisana, and he's with us now. He was on board, and then Will Sowers played bass for Emerosa. He was on board, and so now we've got the lineup, and we're just going through the motions, man, like trying to create the content that needs to be created to make a buzz happen.
Sure. Now, how hard is it now to make that buzz happen? I mean, there's 2 trains of thought. I don't think either are quite right. There's the one thought that it's super easy to get music out there. there's the other thought that in order to get people to listen to your music, you almost have to, jump through hoops and become a content creator and learn yourself how to do TikTok in order to show people you can sing. So how hard is it to break a new band?
I feel like we've been really fortunate with the response that we've received. And it's not like, we're not going to be on MTV tomorrow. Nobody's going to be on MTV tomorrow. Right? But if we could, I don't know that we would just like jump straight into the forefront of things. And we don't expect that. Like, we're willing to put in the work, but we are also recognizing that it seems to have become not necessarily more work, but a very different type of work than it used to be. Right. It's no longer necessarily just touring and making connections with a manager or a booking agent or trying to find a label. It's like you said, man, it's like suddenly I gotta be doing TikTok dances and stuff. And I can't dance. You don't want to see that. I don't want anyone I've ever known to see that. And so, dude, it has been like a funny thing to navigate, but we are all in some capacity content creators, even though we'd never thought of ourselves that way. It's like Worth is a very incredible audio producer. I am a video editor by trade. Tristan's a graphic designer by trade. Like, we've all got these skills that do align with what we need to try and make this happen. So we've been fortunate in that, but it has been a funny little roadmap, man.
Now, let me ask you, Chris is saying it's tough to break into the business. How tough is it to get paid in the business now? Because, now you got to sell that merch, you got to sell the CDs, you got to sell something, right? Because Spotify ain't going to pay the bills.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to learn how to monetize yourself in a different way. Once again, it's like, it's not necessarily more work, it's just different work. Whereas before, the label would help front money for XYZ. Now we have to come up with it ourselves. We have to find a way to promote our merch instead of relying on the 4,000ths of a penny for every stream from Spotify, etc.
Right.
And so you're not really getting paid for your masters as much, at least not in this stage. I can't speak to, higher levels of being in the music industry than where we're at necessarily. So it's less about making money off your master work and more finding clever ways to monetize yourself outside of that. Like, some people get a big enough band following and personal following to where they'll have a Twitch channel and they'll mix music all day and they'll take tips for mixing music, or they'll just play video games. And because they're in a cool band, people watch them play video games and send them money all day. It's like random. It's wild. It's kind of cool, I guess. Depending on how you look at it, but we're still sorting all that out.
Sure. Well, Logan, one of the things that's interesting about your band is the components of it. You guys have all been in other bands, and some I'll say well-known bands, but bands that kind of plateaued. I'm not saying that negatively. I'm just saying they reached where they got, and that's kind of where they were going to get.
Yeah, for sure.
As a new band, you obviously want to surpass that. How do you go about making sure that you don't make the mistakes that ended up costing those bands causing those bands to plateau at a certain level and take yourself further?
Right, man. I think there's a couple components to that. We've got people like Jamie, who is like Jamie, the guiding light of all the pretty things. And so she looks out for us a ton, if she's not going to let us do anything stupid. I mean, she did put me in an interview with other human beings, which might not have, we'll see how that goes. But there's also, I think, a major component of, we're older now, and we did our touring, and then we all kind of took a breather for a minute, assessed what we really wanted to do, who we wanted to be as musicians and as one unit. And so we have, I think, just a different sense of responsibility to the listener and to each other as people who rely on one another for their livelihood, essentially, and their creative outlet. and we just have different expectations out of ourselves, and we're not necessarily so worried about being artsy and heady and all this stuff. Like, we want to, the time has come to produce some good rock songs that a lot of people can latch onto, not just a small niche group of people can latch onto. Like, we're taking a sense of pride in creating songs that are more universally ear friendly, I guess. So the mixture of Jamie not letting us fall into a deep, dark pit filled with spikes, and us having a different sense of responsibility as musicians, because we're just older and a little more learned, you know? I think that's
right.
the combo there.
Right on, man. Well, dude, tell us a little bit about some of the songs that you've written. I mean, what as the singer, especially, as I'm assuming the lyricist as well, you know, do you write personal stuff? Do you write observational stuff? I mean, where do you focus to come up with lyrics?
Man, all of that stuff. It's all deeply emotional and personal and observational. It's like a lot of it. I feel like what ends up coming out of me just ends up being like this, because it's not like I'm some guy who had the craziest story of an upbringing. I wasn't like insanely under or overprivileged. I'm a pretty normal dude. I think about things a certain way. So it's not like I have this crazy story attached to me. I am thoughtful. I care about others. I care about how they navigate their lives, how they feel when I interact with them, when other people interact with them. And I feel like the whole thing is just like trying to level with people about our modern human condition is like the whole thing. And that does bring about some emotional things, some personal things, and some observational things, you know?
What's the here in Cleveland, we have a bunch of concert clubs that we used to have anyways that were great venues to go see shows. A lot of that stuff is closed down. There's a couple left, but then it's a lot of bars. What's the scene like where you're at? I mean, do you have a lot of, what do you see when you tour? Is it concert clubs? Are you playing at bars? What's it like?
Well, where we're at directly in Wilmington, North Carolina, early 2000s was pretty well known for its like underground scene. I mean, hardcore, punk, screamo, emo, dude, everything was raging here. And we got to see a lot of cool shows, and a lot of our bands, like a lot of the bands I was in when I was younger, got fortunate enough to open up for a national hardcore act or something like that. That was like the best night of our year when we finally landed that opening slot.
Right.
So we were fortunate in that. It has changed quite a bit. A lot of those venues that were really touting original music have since shut down. When I say a lot, I mean like essentially all of them, except for like the big ones that you have to 6,000 to 10,000 people in seats in order to play there, you know? So it's kind of turned into more of a singer-songwriter kind of acoustic thing, which is not bad. There's plenty of really talented people around here who do that. It's just not what we do. So we kind of have to venture outside of where we're at to find crowds that are ready to start beating the hell out of each other and scream.
What's the groupie scene like is really kind of what I want to know. Are the girls still all over the rock guys? And you know, it's one big-ass party in the green room before you go on stage. I mean, that's what I want to live my life as, is through you being a rock star. That's what I want. So I'm expecting you to say, yes, there's half-naked girls that hang outside the windows. We kind of pick what we want before we go on stage. Is it like that?
Yeah, totally, man.
Interview's over. We have nothing else to talk about. I've gotten what I needed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if you want things to be that way, they can be that. There's no shortage of like people that are willing to indulge themselves in that sort of stereotypical, like what we see as like classic rock star behavior, I guess. And I'm not saying I'm above it. I'm not above it. I guess I'm just leaning a different direction. It's all about like, if you want that kind of thing, you can invite it, and I guarantee it'll be there. But you know, if you also just want to be the sober guy on the road and not get yourself into trouble. I think that option's there as well.
Well, if you need help with the other side, just you have my number. We're good.
I'll hit you up, dude. We're gonna do this.
Nice. Well, Logan, let's talk about "I Want You Back." Surprise hit of the summer is what I think I read in the press release. I don't know about surprise hit, but it was a nice surprise to learn of a new band that was doing something cool. Tell us about that song, and were you surprised that it got some legs on it?
Man, I think that was like honestly the only song that I consciously with intention wrote in like trying to get it to be big or well received or poppy or whatever. It still has some, like, it's still me. I'm not like faking any of it, but it was the only one that was like in the back of my head. I was like, this needs to be very radio friendly while I was writing it. And that doesn't take away from the fact that we can still write cool riffs and lyrics and put them in there, but it's just like, let's pay attention to the pacing of the song, the momentum of the song, like the format.
Right.
So I'm not necessarily surprised. I'm extremely grateful, like it did what we intended for it to do, but that's never a guaranteed thing.
Sure.
So I was super pumped that like people seemed to respond well to it. And, it's always cool to step back from the studio console when you're getting close to the end of a song and like you're not just doing like take after take. You finally get a moment to breathe and listen to it from front to back, and you're like, shit, I can't believe that's us, dude. Like,
right.
That's sick. We did that. That could be on the radio if someone decided to put it there.
Sure. Is radio still a good medium for introducing music, or more than just music, but introducing bands to new people? There's so many fewer people listening to commercial radio anyway. Maybe it's internet radio and Spotify and whatnot obviously is a more popular medium, but is commercial radio still viable for a new band like yours?
I think so. It's certainly not what it once was. I think we can all probably see that. Like,
sure.
I don't know that I could ask any one of my close friends, hey, do you listen to radio? And have them be like, hell yeah, I listen to the radio every day. Like, that's probably not going to happen. But I also have musician friends who think similarly the way I do. But dude, I mean, you can never. I'm not in a position where I can rule out any demographic. I feel like that would be pretty foolish of me to be like, no, we don't need to worry about the radio, because there is still a contingency of people that are on it and they just turn it on every day on the way to and from work. It comforts them. They get to hear new stuff. They may not invest as heavily in those new bands as they once did, like as they would have in the early 2000s, late 90s. But you're still reaching people, and dude, I want to get this stuff in front of as many people as I possibly can. So,
see, I do talk radio now, and so I'm bombarded with politics on a day-to-day basis, and so it's nice to hear some good new rock every now and then. But even the rock station here, at least the main one, is talk in the morning, talk in the afternoon, and then a bunch of the same old rehashed AC/DC bullshit they've heard 5,000 times. I mean, their big concert coming to town this year's STP. And live, I mean,
shit.
It's a good show, but that would have been a good show 30 years ago.
When the lead singer was alive, it would have been a great show. But so it's just one of these things. I need to hear more music. Like, what's your plan for the next 5 years? As far as touring? What's your goals for the next 5 years? What's your band?
Oh, man, great question. I intend on making as much of an impact on people musically as I possibly can, having a real fun time with my friends, making music that makes me extremely happy, and becoming the most famous person in the entire world.
That's all.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's good. I mean, that's awesome. That's great. And again, don't forget your groupie stand-in when you become the most famous person in the world.
Here, talk to him. He's
so I was wondering, but with the I hate the obstacles in the way anymore of bands, whether it's, these festival tours and there's 800 bands playing on, and it's very difficult to get seen on these kind of tours, and the lack of clubs and the lack of radio. How do you intend on doing it? How do you intend on breaking through these barriers?
Man, that's a great question. It's like, for me, man, this is going to sound naive and just daft as hell, but like, I truly believe that we have what it takes to actually grab people's attention like on top of the noise. Like there's just, and I'm not trying to talk shit about any of them. Can I say shit?
Sure. Yeah, you did.
I'm not trying to talk shit about any of these other bands. Like everybody deserves their time and to have their music heard. But when you think about it statistically, there's just so much noise because everybody can make music in their bedroom and it can sound awesome now. Like you've got the Line 6 Helix and all the guitar emulator stuff. Like, dude, anybody can record like world-class sounding guitars in their bedroom. So there's a lot of noise out there. And I just feel like we, from a songwriting and production standpoint, absolutely have what it takes to break through that ceiling and be seen rising above this sea of people who are all just trying to express themselves,
And that's what I think we need. I think we need a reckoning in this industry of bands like you coming up and a bunch of bands taking over and showing these kids that rock music is alive and well.
Yeah.
And quit listening to fucking Taylor Swift and quit listening to all the other, made up, pop bullshit that's out there and actually get down to playing guitars and drums and showing rock music is good.
Yeah, and I think so many people want it to come back, man. It's like I can feel it, and everybody I talk to, it's like they're ready to have rock and roll come back and just do that thing that it used to do to people, like make you feel that way that it made you feel, which is unlike anything else. And I think people are just ready for it. And I'm here, and I'm gonna do my damnedest to give it to them, man.
Right on, man. Well, Logan, why don't you tell people where we could send them to online to keep up with you guys and buy some merchandise if there's merchandise to buy and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so we've got the merch store now, which is I'm pretty sure it's merch.alltheprettythings.official.com. And then obviously Instagram, All the Pretty Things Official. Find us on YouTube. All our songs are on there, YouTube Music, and we've got a couple of like lyric videos for some of them, not all of them. And then please, whatever streaming service is your favorite flavor, hit that follow button if they've got one. I just recently learned that Spotify had a follow button, so I'm here to tell everyone else that Spotify has a follow button. And if you do that, we'd really appreciate it. And Spotify would think that we were cooler than we are. So that'd be great.
Nice.
I'm going to do that right now as we're talking.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe.
There you go. Well, one more time, the band is All the Pretty Things. And Logan, what I figured we would do is we'd wrap up with the single, with the music. I don't want to call it a video necessarily, but the static video, I guess, for A New Forever to kind of wrap this up. Why don't you tell us about this song to wrap this one up?
That's the most recent one. We just dropped it, I think, a month ago, and it's doing pretty well. It's more of what I think you would typically call like an album song, not okay. Like what would typically be like a hit single or something like that. But we love it a lot. We put a lot into that song, and it's kind of the only song on the album that has more of a, I don't want to say political connotation to it, but it like addresses some fun, super fun social issues about how we're all obsessed with social media and can't seem to relate to each other properly anymore.
And I am following you right now. I already did it. So
now jump on social media and follow us.
Nice. Well, let's check it out right now. This is A New Forever. The band is All the Pretty Things. And Logan, thanks so much for joining us here on the Seth Williams Show.
Dude, thank you guys for having me. This is great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.